go into some of the other hurdle and chase races. We'll start with the other hurdle races. I'm going to give the guys each as long as they want to tell us their best bet. We'll start with the chases, actually. We've got 6 chase races to talk about. Ultima, Cross Country, Grand Annual Plate, Kimmuir and the Hunter's Chase. And I'm going to let Craig go first. Give us your best bets for the 6 chase races that we haven't mentioned already.
Yeah, there's only 2 of those races that hit my radar at the moment, possibly 2.5 for the Grand Annual. But we'll start with the Ultima Day 1, 3 miles. Oscar Elite, each way, 12-1 he is. He was 3rd in the race last year. You know, they lined up right across the track. He was almost on the stands rail. He was ridden wide throughout. He absolutely tanked his way down the hill to take up the lead. Kicked on far too soon. They set the race up for an out-and-out stayer in Korak Rambler, who would have a chance again this time around, but, you know, totally different prep. Everything is being geared towards the national for him. I think Oscar Elite is, you know, a massive player. I think he's £1 higher than he was 12 months ago. The race is absolutely ideal for him. He comes here on the back of a real confidence boost by winning the Reynoldstown at Ascot. It didn't take too much out of him, that race either. So Oscar Elite in the Ultima. The other is the Kimmuir, a race I like, 3 miles too. Iron Bridge for John Joe O'Neill, a novice. Novices have won the last 4 renewals of the Kimmuir. He won at Carlisle earlier in the season, then won a little match or a walkover, if you like, in the end. And you know, I thought it was a real eye-catching prep over an inadequate trip at Warwick last time. Hunted out the back, never really put in the race. Not knocked about, hit the line strongly, crying out for a step up in 3 miles. John Joe's a master at Cheltenham handicaps. He knew exactly what mark he needed to get in here. You know, they did the trick beautifully. They've left him open to improvement, stepping back up to 3 miles. I think he's a major player. And the half and thoughts I have in the Grand Annual at the moment, Unexpected Party, I think they've worked backwards in terms of their season from Cheltenham back, because, you know, he's never really been put in a race over fences yet. And he was a big eye catcher in the Timeform Novices Handicap on Trials Day. 2 miles probably is the question mark, dropping back in trip. But there's another one in there that I think can run well at a price as well. Red Rookie for Emma Lavelle, big price in the Arca last year, and was running a decent race until coming down late. You know, wasn't knocked about at Sandown last time. You could tell that was a final prep for Cheltenham. I think he'd be interested in the Grand Annual. But the first 2 I mentioned would be the picks of the chasers for me. Iron Bridge and Oscar Elite.
Brilliant. Mark, yeah, other chase races, there's 6 to mention. Who you got?
Well, I don't know if I'll definitely back this one in the plate. It's got so many entries that I don't know where it's going. But I think Seddon was talked about as a really good horse for Youngs when it was at all the other yards. And all of a sudden, it never did anything. And then all of a sudden, it went to John McConnell's. And it's won pulling the cart twice this season. And I know it's not beaten much and it's been put up in the ratings, but I think he's finally producing what these other trainers were seeing. Joseph O'Brien, it was back off the boards numerous times under Joseph O'Brien. They produced nothing. And I think this horse is just finally producing what it's producing on the gallops, on the track. I'll back him in the plate if he's running in the plate. But with 5 entries, I don't know where he's going yet. And I'm going against Craig's pick in the Kimmuir. And I said I'm a Cromwell fanboy, but he had to win like he won at Sandown or he wouldn't have got into the Kimmuir. I backed him at 7-1. I really fancy Stumptown. I really fancy this horse. I mean, there's no search at Cheltenham. I think he had to get to about 133 to get in. He's got 135. He's got Barry O'Neill. His jumping was absolutely superb last time out. I know he's a short price now. I'm hoping he'll go a little bit bigger on the day and I can put him up as a bet, but he's too short to put up as a bet at the moment at 4-1. I think that's just, a lot of these markets are trying to stop you having a bet at the moment. I think prices will improve on the day. I hope to get about 5 to 1, 11 to 2 Stumptown, but I have backed him already. I think he's a good bet. I know he's short, but I think he's a good bet.
Brilliant.
That's my
Callum?
only two.
Brilliant. Callum, who we got for the other chase races?
I'll fly through the chases. In the Ultima, I like Corrick Ramble to follow up. They don't need to protect him up for the National now. The weights are out. If he was a 12 to 1 chance for the Grand National, he was a 12 to 1 chance in the Ultima last week, and now he's 6 to 1 favourite. So I think the price is probably gone on him, but I'm quite happy with that position there. So Monbeg Genius of John Joe O'Neill's in this race, as Craig was pointing out, he's a master of mapping things out. He's an unexposed 7-year-old, and he did this trick with Hollywell in 2014 when he won it. Really exciting from like Class 3 company and jumped up. He only had 5 runs in 2014. Monbeg Genius, same age, same profile. He's only had 4. He's a prominent racer, and that tends to suit. So I could see him going well about 14s. The cross country, I think it's a duel, and I think the Vider and Galvin are very positive. He was 10-3 and 4th at a Gold Cup last year, and I don't think his form's fallen off that much of a cliff since. Apparently skilled really well. I think Delta Work rather fell in against Tiger Roll. I thought the handicap, he absolutely early in the year, I thought he missed the last 2 and he looked slow coming back. I think he really needs Jack Kennedy. I think he's been better over regulation fences. If you see his career, I think he's a fiddly horse, and I think Galvin might beat him for just a bit of class, and I think he just might lose his place. So I would lean with Galvin over Delta Work there. Grand Daniel, Time White, Nichols, fresh angle. He was about second favourite last year before the ground turned into a bog. They sensibly took him out. He goes really well fresh. Won at Ascot. Reappearance and absolutely hacked up from Frere Bamboo, who was third in the Grand Daniel last season before. He did this with Solar Impulse. He did this with Le President, 3-month absence, coming in young, relatively unexposed, and at a decent price. He's been clipped down from 25 to 16s, but I still think there's a bit of juice there. And my fancy with Kim Muir's Knight and Lamborn of Ben Paulings. I think he's been laid out for this C&D. I think Jack Andrews is planning to take the ride for a long time, preserving a mark of 135. He laid out Global Citizen well to win the Grand Daniel. I think this is his horse that he's going to lay out for a handicap chase this year. And the Kim Muir, I think, again, he's been another that's been clipped in slightly at 14, 16s. And I think he's definitely interesting. And whatever Mr. Christie runs in the Hunter's Chase, which is probably going to be Vosselet, I think that'll win as well.
Brilliant. I'm just going to run through mine quickly. In the Ultima, I think the softer the ground, the more I'm leaning towards a horse that I've fallen off a cliff with in the past. The Big Breakaway, very hard to keep right, but I can see him running a big race in here if he gets in and runs on soft ground. Another I like in this race is a horse of Henry Daly's called Fortescue, who's got really good form over kind of good to soft ground. It runs off a mark of 140, I believe, and 140 for Henry Daly, age 9. Has had difficult runs in the past, but I'm willing to forgive him them. I think he could have a chance in the Ultima. Cross country, I'm very much with Callum. I think if it's good ground, I think you have to give the edge to Galvin. If it's soft ground, Delta Work, I wouldn't put anyone off Gin and Lime each way in that race either. I think she's got a wee chance as well. She's got good Cheltenham form. Grand Daniel, I am going with a Tizzard horse, Elixir the Nuts. Another kind of horse who likes soft ground, but has showed a good bit of form this year with second in the Game Spirit. It just looks a better horse this year than he has. Rouge Vif as well as another, I think, is well handicapped in the Grand Daniel. In the plate, I think So Scottish is a good thing, especially if the boy O'Sullivan gets £5 off him, which I think is probable. I think he could be a good thing in that race. I think 7-2. The now, I wouldn't put anyone off that. Kim Muir, I like to. Royal Thief for Henry de Bromhead, who run very well, winning off a break last time out. And Beauport, who has some form in the Dipper that was won by the Real Whacker. He finished 4th in that race. I think they're two interesting players in the Kim Muir and in the Hunter's Chase. I'm with Callum, fancy Vosselet strongly, and I wouldn't put anyone off a wee saver on Black Op each way, who's won 3 points this year already. So I wouldn't put anyone off him to show that he could still perhaps compete at a Cheltenham festival. But that would be my play in the other chase races.